Good morning. Welcome to the Celtic Way Morning Briefing Live. I'm Tony Haggerty. You know that by now. Probably sick of the sight of my face, but there you go. Can't do anything about it. It's Friday, 11th of November. Weekend's approaching. Last game before the World Cup, Celtic versus Ross County. We're all excited about that, and we'll get to that. But today, I'm joined by Sean Martin at Sean Martin TCW Twitter handle, and Aidan Macdonald at Aidan C. Macdonald. It's the three amigos for you today. We'll fight later over who's who. We'll roll about the deck and the floor.
Sorry, Tony, the camera's not recording the right angle here, sorry.
We'll get to that as well. First and foremost, draw attention to the strap line at the bottom. Still trying to check that out, Sean, on bar at the minute. Might take me a wee while. Could take about 50 minutes actually to get to a decision. Anyway, subscribe to the Celtic Way. Support top quality journalism, covering the club you love. We say it every day. We've got offers for you all the time. It's £1 for 2 months of full access to everything that we write on the website and the podcast as well. There's something there for everybody on the website. Go and check it out. If you like your stats and data analysis, it's a place to be. If you like your big interviews, it's a place to be. And if you like hard-hitting columnists, it's also the place to be. Something for everybody. Nostalgic pieces as well. It's all there. It's all on the website. Hit that button, guys. www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. Now, we were going to start with the Ross County preview, but there's been a wee bit more fallout, gentlemen, from events of the other night. Jota denied a goal of the season by VAR with a camera that was located somewhere between the Campsie Hills and, I don't know, Arran or something. The camera angle that Sean put up. But yesterday took a new twist, Sean. Alan Burrows, Motherwell CEO, came out and said there was no excuse for the VAR camera not having the correct angle for the offside because there was two situated in both 18-yard boxes. And he said that Motherwell had spent their own money making sure that it was all up to date. Now, there's two conflicting reports about what actually happened. One saying that the camera wasn't recording the incident at the time, and another one saying the camera was trained on the dugouts at the time. The truth lieth somewhere in between, but basically Jota's goal was called offside for a camera angle that you could not clarify that with any given certainty. Now, Sean, where do we stand on that? Celtic are now seeking clarification and answers from the SFA because of that, which they are quite right to do, because it disallowed a very important goal in the context of the game. Celtic would have been 2-0 up, but as it stands, it was chalked off back to 1-0. It was all still in the balance again, Sean. But VAR was brought in to clear all these things up, was it not?
Aye, the thing is though, this to me still isn't a problem with VAR as in the technology, because assuming that they did get the kind of lines drawn and Hawkeye was there and blah, 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 if it was offside, fine, it was offside. But for me, and especially true in Scottish football, where there is at best mistrust, at worst outright just disbelief at officials from all quarters, not just from Celtic. You really need the oversight to be seen to be robust, if you know what I mean. And instances like Wednesday night don't help with that perception that, not that they're making up as they go along, but just that it's not robust, basically. And Alan Burrows, I think, quite right to come out and point out that this was like distance Motherwell from it. This was nothing to do with the cameras that they had basically facilitated exactly the SFA had asked them to do, and he even says that at their own expense they had upgraded one of the cameras. So he just basically was just making sure everybody knew this was not Motherwell's kind of doing in any way. The camera positions were all pre-agreed and all facilitated at the SFA's request. And he was just pointing out that there was cameras in alternative angles that should have been able to pick it up better. Now, obviously, since then, the kind of reports have come out, one in the Scottish Sun, one in the Daily Mail, one saying that the camera in the Motherwell end that would have been ideally positioned was actually looking at the dugouts for close-ups, and the other saying that it wasn't recording. Don't know what one it was, but regardless, it wasn't picking it up, which I think is the problem here. Again, to me, it's not necessarily the VAR technology, although I would ask, I suppose the logical question to ask would be, if that is the the angle that they were looking at. Who made the final call then? Was it Willie Collum on the park, given that the linesman flagged a possible offside, or was it the VAR based on that angle? Because obviously the Hawkeye would have come up and says, based on that angle, the lines are within the kind of parameters of being offside. But from that angle, is it really a fair angle to do it from? I don't know. So yeah, it's clear as mud, Tony. Really, isn't it? I mean, it's no better than yesterday.
Aidan, as Sean said, I mean, we at best you describe referees as incompetent, but these kind of things just fuel, as Sean said, all supporters, fans, suspicions, really, don't they? You become highly suspicious of things like that. Then and you're not. I'm not a conspiracy theorist by any stretch, but my goodness, that's the fallout from this has been unbelievable, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has, and the whole thing is just quite bizarre, to be honest. If either one of those reports are true about the cameras, then it's really not a good look for anybody that was involved in that. And hopefully, it's all I can say is it's just something we don't see again. But that's no doubt it, given kind of Scottish football in general and some people's decision making, it could be something that crops in. But hopefully, it just gets kind of stamped out. But yeah, like I say, if either one of those reports are true, then the whole thing's definitely not a good look. But
Aidan, we've had 4 games involving Celtic since VAR came in, or 4 games involving Scottish football since VAR came in, and Celtic have been involved in controversy in every one of them, either for or against. But I think you'll both agree that all or nearly all of the decisions have gone against Celtic. They got the benefit of the doubt with the Livingston penalty, didn't they?
Yeah, which when you seen it back, obviously the referee did miss it, but that was quite an obvious one as well. There was probably no way that it could have been missed. Yeah, so far there have been decisions that have went against the team. Obviously, like Sean mentioned yesterday, and just previously spoken about how the teams need to play through it, but eventually that will catch up with you. You're not going to be able to just play through it every week. So hopefully it's issues that they can stamp out as soon as possible.
Sean, I've said before, it's not. You don't want favours. You want fairness, don't you? And you want fairness applied throughout the league, because there's 11 other clubs in the league as well.
It's consistency, I think, which is obviously the buzzword now. Anyway, that and subjective, but it's. I mean, with the Hawkeye thing with offside lines, it's a binary thing. It's on or off, and there's a few comments saying this. What I would also like to know, because I don't think they've really clarified whether the ideal angle does impact whether Hawkeye can tell if it's off or not, because there's lines and there's parameters and all that kind of stuff. Yes. They've not really clarified, as most times they don't. As I keep saying this week, referees and kind of officials are a protected species in that regard, in terms of the only person they need to justify anything to is the referee, controller and stuff. They don't have to ever really explain their decisions otherwise. I don't expect that to change. We kind of talked last week whether it should change or not, but it's almost by the by, because it's not going to. They're not going to do that.
Yeah. Now, Beach Boys comes in with a comment and says, Radio Clyde made it clear last night when it comes to offsides, the ref in the VAR room has nothing to do with it. It's 100% fact with Hawkeye, and the decision is made. Celtic just need to accept it. Doesn't make it right, though, all the time, does it? Or does it?
I mean, theoretically, Hawkeye should be there's the lines and stuff, but I suppose, unless I'm reading it wrong from both of those reports, does it not mean that the camera angle, the technology that employs Hawkeye was then mucked up in a way? Flawed. And that's why they had to employ Hawkeye from an angle that they wouldn't actually have used if the other camera was there. That's the way I'm reading it. I don't know if that's me reading it wrong, but regardless, I still think the overarching point of whether it was offside or not is almost irrelevant, because to me, especially in Scottish football, there is a lack of belief in the kind of officials and the quality, if you want to put it that way, the quality of officiating. So introducing something like VAR, you need it to be more robust than it would be anywhere else, because you need to be seen to be robust. You need to make a point of the optics, rather than, funny enough, you're talking about optics when it's a camera we're talking about, but regardless, you need it to, well, they need it, not us, we need it just for the oversight, but they need it to be seen to be robust. And in my opinion, the last couple of weeks, even though teething problems and all that it does explain a few things, you need it to be robust enough that you go, right, I can see where you're coming from, I can see why that was made, even if you disagree with it. But to me, so far, that's not been the case. And I'm sitting here as someone who argued against you, Tony, saying, no, I think VAR should be, VAR's good, VAR's good. So.
Put you the first, Aidan says in tennis, Hawkeye says it, and no one disputes it.
Bit different in tennis when you've got
and then Pete G comes in and says, funny how the technology works fine there. And then the retro Celtic comes in and says, I don't believe that Hawkeye is infallible. Now, Aidan, 3 thoughts on Hawkeye. Yeah, I guess the kind of truth lies somewhere in between all that. You know, it's stripping the enjoyment out of football though now, isn't it? Because the first thing he did when Jota scored the other night was look to see if there was going to be a check.
Yeah, definitely. It does strip some of the enjoyment, which I think we discussed at one point, Tony, ahead of that first match that was going to involve VAR. I was kind of always a wee bit on the fence about it. I did understand why Scottish football doesn't want to be left behind. Obviously, there's maybe been other things in the past, like goal line technology, etc., when that was first introduced, it then didn't get brought in up here, so I can completely understand why they wanted VAR to come in. Overall, I think it does have its flaws at times, but if it is used effectively, it should get the decisions right. But as we've already mentioned, it wasn't really an issue with the VAR technology the other night. It was how it was being sort of handled /
administered,
the decision makers, So whether or not it's going to take more training for them, I don't know. Hopefully, kind of over the World Cup break, by the time we come back on the 17th of December, things have been sort of levelled out a wee bit. Which I've now said about 3 times after every single game now. So hopefully it is something that gets sorted. But yeah, in terms of the actual introduction of VAR itself, I'm still a wee bit kind of on the fence of it. But I do understand why it's been brought in, obviously.
Sean's not on the fence. Go on, Sean.
No, I suppose if anything, I've jumped back up the fence because I was very much right. Well, I do think that VAR is a useful tool. I think it annoys people because it delays celebrations and stuff, but ultimately if it gets the right decision, then it gets the right decision. I did express some concerns at the fact that they were introducing it before referees were going full time. They were kind of rushing it to get it before the World Cup break as well. Never mind the fact that it's midway through a season. All of that was stuff I acknowledged wasn't ideal, but I'd made my peace with the fact that that was the way it was going to have to be if I was going to get implemented. Now, the 6 camera thing I mentioned yesterday, that's minimum. It's not all, it's minimum. And I still just find it astounding that none of the 5 other cameras had a better angle for that. And we can talk about Hawkeye being definitive all we like. I would like to know if it was forced, which is what I'm reading into, that it was forced to use that angle rather than the optimal angle. And whether that impacts it or not. So, aye.
We watch Celtic games and we study them closely because it's for job. So I think a lot of Celtic supporters are wanting to know why in a few times this season, the Jota goal, the Abada goal at Tynecastle, why was no definitive camera angle there? Why were the lines not shown?
To be fair with that one, I still think what happened was it wasn't shown on the live feed, but VAR did see it. Now, again, this goes back to my point about being seen to be robust.
Yeah.
You need to put that up for me.
Yeah,
you need to put it up for, if no other reason, just to
clarification,
for your own reputation. Just say, this is what we're seeing. This is why we've made the decision. There you go, because you'll get it once you see it. Now, obviously, I think it was up to I presume it was up to the broadcaster whether to put that through. They should be told you need to put it through. It needs to be every single marginal decision, goal decision especially, needs to be put up on the screen. There is no alternative. You need to broadcast the one with the lines, because ultimately it benefits everybody if you get to see the one with the lines. That Abada one, that's the way I read it. That I read into it. Sorry, that VAR saw everything they were meant to see, but it didn't get fed through to the live feed. But again, that just comes back to the robustness thing.
Now, Beach Boys says, Aidan, with or without VAR, Jota's goal would have been disallowed because the linesman flagged for offside. But VAR can render that call?
Well, the thing is, he's flagged because he thought it was a potential offside.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
He wasn't saying that was definitely offside.
Yeah.
Now, I get the point.
Right? Rule that, can't it?
I get the point.
Yeah,
the Beach Boys is making, aye. But
if it goes to VAR and it proves it's onside, then a goal will be given, won't it?
Aye.
Well, that's the premise of it, isn't it? So that was my understanding, Aidan. Yeah.
Yeah. As far as I'm aware, that is the case. Obviously, the linesman did flag for it to be offside, but it, in every angle, I say every angle, in the one angle, it looked very tight. So, yeah, without repeating myself, hopefully it is something that just longer term, there isn't these same sort of issues. But the fact that it just feels like every game's now being like weighed down like VAR decisions. I mean, don't get me wrong, if all these decisions had happened anyway, you would be discussing them, but it's just, yeah, it just reminds me a lot of when it was first sort of implemented in the Champions League down in England, etc. When every single game you were at, it felt like you were getting like an extra 10, 15 minutes in terms of like the overall match, just because of decisions, whether it be poor refereeing in the whole or things taking ages to get looked at in VAR. But we'll just need to wait and see, I guess.
Well, we'll move on from that because there's a game of association football tomorrow at Celtic Park, and Celtic want to close out this particular segment of games by chalking up 9 in a row, Sean. Heard that before. Be 9 domestic wins in a row if Celtic can win tomorrow against Ross County, a team they've beaten already twice in Dingwall, 3-1 in the league earlier in August and 4-1 in the League Cup in the same month, later on in the same month. Now, the omens are certainly looking good for Celtic to win convincingly, Sean. But as the manager said the other night, he got the result, but he didn't get the performance he wants to do tomorrow to sign off with the flourish, doesn't he?
Aye, I think so. I think you go strong. I think you go with not that they go into any other game with any other intention, but I think you get into this game to sign off and then go on a break, go on their Sydney tour, come back in December. I think you want to sign off with not just a win, but either win and a performance, and hopefully a good few goals into the bargain. Tony.
Yeah. Aidan, we've spoken about it before, but at the very least, be 7 points clear going into this break. Be, as Sean said there, you go into that game to see with yourself. Cold and hard, Aidan, just play a strong team. Yeah, finish with a flourish. Strongest team possible tomorrow. And yeah, I would agree with that sentiment, Aidan, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, you want to try and make sure you're getting the 3 points because the 7 point lead's absolutely brilliant to have at this stage, and it's not something the manager or the players will be wanting to give up. So, yeah, hopefully go out, good performance, get a good victory, and sign off before the World Cup break.
Without a doubt. Now, without delving in too much to the team predictions, guys, because we're all going to try and second guess Ange tomorrow.
Yep.
But do we see much tinkering from the other night? Do you see people dropping out? People dropping in? I'm thinking World Cup participants, but the manager himself has said he's not going to relinquish that. He's going to play them.
No, I think he'll go strong. I had no reason not to. Saying that, strong for Celtic right now could be about 15 different permutations, so that's not a massive claim from me, I suppose. But without going full 11, I think there's a possibility for a change with Carl Starfelt. If Ange believes that his return to match fitness needs to be kind of slow and steady rather than back-to-back 90s against physical teams, I'd like to see Turnbull get another start. And I feel there's almost certain to be a change at one of the wing positions. But, I mean, again, it could be any of Haksabanovic, Forrest or Maeda and for Labada, really. Beyond that, I think Kyogo probably keeps his starting role, doesn't he, after a 7th opening league goal of the season?
Yes, indeed. Now, Pete McGee comes in and says, "Oh no, we're back to the strongest team possible, chat. When will you learn you can't second guess Ange's starting 11?" Pete,
But
the
we
reason
will
we do it
continue
is
to do it.
we always do it. We always predict the starting 11, Pete, as part of the Celtic Way shtick. So that's why we talk about it, and that's why, because it's a great talker and people have their opinion. So, yeah, we agree with you that you probably can't second guess Ange's starting 11. We don't know the strongest 11, but every game we try and predict the lineup.
You win a Twix if you get 11 out of 11.
Now, Aidan, Sean said that he's going to go hard, play a strong team. Without giving too much away, I think the only one of the World Cup participants that might get a rest is Juranovic. I think this is a game tailor-made for Ralston, Tony R. So that's my one throwaway. That's why I love the podcast this week. Yes, indeed. because we like to make fools of ourselves, keep the risk of a predicted 11. That's exactly why. Now, Aidan, do you concur with that, or do you think you'll give Juranovic back-to-back 90s before the World Cup starts in 9 days' time?
I do think Juranovic will stay in the team. I thought he was excellent the other night. That was a really strong performance from him in terms of taking the ball forward, his distribution and that, etc. Some of the ways that he broke and he was just sort of running past people was excellent, which is him at his best that we've seen through the majority of last season. So I think Juranovic will be in from the start. But once again, wouldn't have any issues if Ralston was, because I'm a fan of him as well. So
I would argue Ralston has done nothing in any of his games to deserve not starting the next games, but it's still Juranovic is still the kind of the weight of, I suppose, the Coglos selections to date suggests it will be Juranovic. But listen, if it's Ralston, I'm quite happy for him to start. I think he's been doing really, really well this season again, and he's kind of limited game time. I suppose, Tony, I'm going to ask you though, do you think there's anything in what I said about Starfelt, or do you think he's likely to just start because it's the break afterwards?
I think he's building up a head of steam with Starfelt, so I think the more games you play, the fitter you'll get. It's just my own thoughts, but again, there's merit in what you said as well. But I think you'll want Starfelt to make up for lost time. And to be fair to him, I thought Starfelt was excellent the other night. So again, I was quite chuffed with the way he played. You know, so I would be inclined to, you know, my thoughts. I'm a kind of yellow jersey guy. I'm not that's the way I look at it, you know. So if it ain't broken stuff, but I just think as well that. Speaking of Juranovic, I just think he's probably the only one that he makes. I still think he'll go with Moy, and Cameron Carter-Vickers is that. You're picking a Celtic 11. He's just there, isn't he? Yeah. Cameron Carter-Vickers 8/9.
I've put a link in the comments there. Alan Morrison's written a piece today for us, kind of related to the Starfelt stuff, because it's about Maurice Jens, and basically where Alan investigates whether Maurice Jens has done enough so far for Celtic to be thinking about signing him permanently at the end of the season. It brings in a wee bit about Starfelt, brings in a wee bit about Carter-Vickers, even goes back and brings in some of Chris Ayer and different things like that in comparisons. So that's in the comments. That's well worth a read. But he makes a point in that Jens is right up there in terms of game time this season. He's been a first choice, but he hypothesises or asks the question, how much of that is to do with unavailability of others rather than anything else? So again, I would just wonder if Ange's, because he's been quite cautious with people coming back from injuries lately this season, because he's got a bigger squad. Will he maybe opt to not play Starfelt back-to-back 90s, or back-to-back starts, I should say, because he might not play the 90 minutes even if he starts, and put Jens back in there? Or will he just think, you know what, we're away after this anyway, so what's the harm?
I think Aidan, he can cope, and as you alluded to the other day, he's getting the gang back together, isn't he? He's getting the defence that won the title last season, and I think the Celtic fans breathe a collective sigh of relief, because they quite like Carol Starfelt and Cameron Carter-Vickers as their central defensive partnership. They've got no problem with Jens, but I just think they believe that there's a security blanket there with the two of them, because they did so well last season and formed a decent partnership.
Yeah, no, definitely. It was so effective in that sort of last 12 months. So the fans are definitely going to feel a lot better with them two playing. And even if we extend that to the back four, regardless of like people's opinions on Juranovic, etc., this season, it did play a massive part in terms of making sure Celtic won that double last year. So I think that is a positive. In terms of whether or not Starfelt will play, I think he will, but I also wouldn't be surprised if he maybe was left out, just if the way his recovery has been managed. The fact that he obviously played against Real Madrid, then didn't play against Dundee United, I don't know if that's part of him sort of building his way back in. But then given obviously after this game all the competitive football's done for 5 weeks and you've only got a couple of friendlies in there, you might just want to play him, even if he's not giving him the whole game. Sort of thing. So I've covered myself both ways.
I was just going to say, I don't know how you're trying to convince Aidan yourself or
splinters.
I think he'll play, but he might be left out. Come on, Aidan. You're the manager here. You're going to have to pick an 11. You know.
This is why I only usually get about 8 out of 11.
Aidan's putting all his chips on red and black at the same time.
Cover all bases, Sean. Indeed. No, I think he'll play. So that's just my thoughts, because I think he can handle. I think he's at the stage or they can handle back-to-back 90s. And I think the manager will want to test that out, Sean. To see if
I mean,
he can handle it.
Aidan's written a piece today for the if you've subscribed to the newsletter, you'll have seen it yesterday evening, but it's on the website today, and it's about Ange's use of subs in the last handful of games, because for 5 games in a row, at least one of Ange's subs, sometimes more than one, have come on and tangibly impacted the final scoreline, whether it's a goal or an assist. Obviously, there's been a couple in there more important than others, like for instance, Kyogo's match winner against Dundee United, Greg Taylor's against Hearts, Maeda's even the other night. I know it came before Motherwell's goal, but still was a match winner, that kind of thing. But Aidan took a wee look into that, and it makes me think, right, well, what more do you want someone to do to get a start? Maeda comes on, takes his chance. Abada came on the week before, or the game before, took his chance, got his start. I think he's dropping back out again, though, because I don't think he done very well the other night. But so is there a chance Maeda actually starts? I think if I was to probably go for somebody, I think Haksabanovic. I've become a really big fan of him, and I still think he's got another gear to go up. But realistically, Maeda took his chance the other night when he came on.
No, listen, Sean, it just depends what way the manager thinks as well. But bearing in mind, how did Maeda score from an exquisite pass from Turnbull?
Yes, Turnbull, exactly. Super sub,
there you go. So there's another one, and then you have that Moy Turnbull debate, don't you? 9 days before the World Cup starts, people were saying the other night that they felt Moy was looking a bit jaded, just depending on what you're seeing the eye test. I
think that's just his general demeanour.
I thought some of Moy's one-touch stuff and give and goes were great, but he did fall out the game, and I don't know if that was anything to do with tiredness, but I think his impact was lessened. And then Turnbull comes on, plays an exquisite pass, which turns out to be the match-winning pass for the goal. So that's what you remember. So you think, well, has he merited? Then that's what the manager has to weigh up. Has he merited a start? Again, second guessing, and you don't know. You try. So Turnbull might well feature tomorrow in place of Moy, because giving what Moy's going to face from 9 days onwards. But again, the manager said to himself, or he told everybody, no, I'll play them. So it's like, okay.
I want to see Turnbull starting, because I just feel after coming back for that kind of mini injury layoff, he needs to get a few games. And I realise I'm saying this when there is no game after. There's no game after this one, but I still would like to see him get a start. I don't think the World Cup thing will or should play into selection thing at all. I don't care if you're going to the World Cup. If there's a Celtic game, he's got to play in it, that kind of thing. But nonetheless, I will still tip Turnbull to start over Moy for this one, not because I think Moy looks jaded, just because I want to see Turnbull get a start in that run of games.
I don't think Moy looks jaded either. It was just some of the comments on social media that I was reading. Aidan, as I say, I just thought the other night he had a decent influence. The first half certainly, but it waned in the second half. Just my eye test of watching him. But I still think he's a clever player, and as I say, some of his 1-2s give and goes were great, but it wasn't consistent enough over that 90 minutes against Motherwell, and part of the reason why Celtic took so late to put them away.
Yeah, I mean, even if Aaron Moy, it wouldn't really be a surprise if he is feeling a wee bit jaded, just given how much football he's played compared to like the previous sort of half a season, when really he was kind of up and down, but not really playing after January outside of the playoffs for Australia at the sort of end of the season. So if he is feeling a wee bit jaded, that could be expected. But I think Turnbull will come in just for the game tomorrow, because I think he is such a tidy player, and his pass sort of just summed that up. Really, it was what an assist to find Maeda for that goal. It was superb.
On Turnbull, Tony, I'm talking about Aidan's subs piece and stuff. I've put it in the comments as well. But just over that handful of games, right? I've got it in front of me, right? So the Hibs game, Maeda came on and got a goal. Abada came on and got an assist. The Hearts game, famously, Greg Taylor came on, scored the winner. Abada also came on and scored that day, remember, but his get ruled out. We were talking about earlier on. Livy game, Jota came on and scored. Turnbull got an assist. Came on and got an assist. Dundee United, obviously, Kyogo and Abada came on and both scored. And then against Motherwell, Maeda came on and scored. Turnbull came on and got an assist. You can't ask for more from subs coming on. And this is just direct contributions, because there was a game, I can't remember if it was the Livy game or not, where Moy came on and did really well. Never got an assist or anything, but he did really well when he came on. So It's
But-
worth a read of Aidan's
Yeah.
thing. It's a fair point, and I wouldn't be surprised if it happens again on
It's the
Saturday.
nature of the squad, isn't it?
Mhm.
That he does name subs, but he does tell them, and most of them get about half an hour, don't they?
Aye, there's usually subs about the 60 minute mark.
Quarter of the game to make an impact, and the point is that they're not coming on just
the game.
Aye. Well, between a third and a quarter, they're getting, aren't they? One of those, it depends. But he's bringing them on to make that impact, isn't he? They're not coming on to see out games and just show up or whatever. He wants them to come on, and the way the players are, the way they train, they're primed. So they're looking to come on and do something, which is what delights me about the subs when they do come on. They aren't coming on and just that's it, just sitting back or not taking part. They're taking part, and those stats that you rhymed off there about the substitutes coming on, then it shows to a degree why he does it, because it's working. Then clearly, isn't it?
There's a question here I'm going to throw to you, Aidan, just to see if you'll sit in the fence with this one as well. But could Patrick Macdonald, could Ange play Moy and Turnbull and relegate Real Haggerty to the bench in the process? Don't just say yes, he could.
I don't think you can take Haggerty out of the team at the moment, personally. I know he can be maybe guilty of a slightly slack passing then, but as we've mentioned many times, it's because he's always trying to make things happen. I think he's such a talented midfielder, and he brings so much to the way Ange wants to play in terms of the energy that maybe, while Moy and Turnbull are excellent players, they maybe don't quite have that same explosiveness. Obviously, that doesn't always guarantee that you're going to put in a good performance. You need also have the technical ability as well, which Haggerty does. So I don't think you can take him out of the team, and he's another one that's not going to the World Cup either. So there's going to be plenty of time for him to rest up and stuff. I think he'll be in from the start tomorrow. There we go.
You agree, Tony? I'm the same as well, but
no, I don't. I think the triumvirate that are there at the minute, O'Reilly, Haggerty, and Moy, I think they'll play tomorrow. Basically, I do. I've got to be honest. They remain in situ for me, but I can understand about Haggerty because past couple of games, I would say Haggerty's distribution has been, for want of a better word, erratic, right? And it's what you're seeing. So the manager might be seeing that too. So there is a possibility that he could do that. Of course, there's always a possibility that he could bring in Turnbull and play Turnbull, Moy, and O'Reilly and drop Haggerty. That's always an option to him. I don't think he will, for the explanation that Aidan given there. He adds a lot. When he's on it, and a lot of things happen, a lot of things flow through him. Just like every player, now and again, they just hit a wee kind of lull or a dip. And I think the past couple of games, Haggerty's high bar has dipped. And it's an exceptionally high bar. And as I say, in terms of distribution, it's been a wee bit more erratic and not.
I think he's always going to be one of those players, I think, because he tries riskier passes and sometimes his pass completion will be doing, but sometimes he is just not having that great a game as well. That can happen to anybody. I tend to agree with you. I think he will start. And I said yesterday to you that it was O'Reilly's 11th consecutive start, which was his longest streak for Celtic. It was also Haggerty's 11th consecutive start, which is obviously a byproduct of the fact that Turnbull with a wee injury and McGregor's out at the same time. Moy's just getting back to kind of match fitness, and Abelgard is still not there. So it's probably a byproduct of that, But I expect the two of them to start for their 12th consecutive game, put it that way.
On that note as well, moving further forward, an off form Kyogo hit his 11th goal of the season the other night. 10 in the league, by the way. Yes. One behind the top goal scorer at the minute, which is Cholak. Just like to point that out. But yeah, he's got 11 in 22 appearances, Kyogo. Not bad for somebody that's off for him, 1 and 2. There you go.
Exactly, Tori. I tweeted out the other day when he scored that goal that you've got to remember he comes off early if he starts as well.
Yeah.
Most of the time. So he's got his 10 league goals in 697 minutes. Obviously, he's played more of that now, but at the time that he scored, it's like 750 minutes or something now, right? But when he scored, at the minute that he scored, 697 minutes, which means he was scoring a goal every 69.7 minutes in the league. So you cannot complain about that. If that's him off form, give me him off form.
Yeah, correct. Aidan, you can't argue.
And he also got robbed of a brilliant assist there. I say robbed. don't mean that word in the way that it's going to come across there. I'm not conspiracy at all. But in terms of the assist that never was, I'm going to keep calling it.
Goal of the season, Sean and Aidan, wasn't it?
Super.
It was goal of the season, Aidan, if that's allowed to stand. Not just, it was for the actual move, for Kyogo's contribution. It wasn't just the exquisite finish, which was world class. It was the actual move that led to the assist that never was, we'll call it then, for as Sean has labelled it there, Aidan. But yeah, Kyogo was just kind of gone under the radar a wee bit, the fact that he didn't score for a few games and panic, shock horror. But yeah, I think he's kind of bounced back in good style if he needed to bounce back, Aidan.
Yeah, I think his performances have been pretty good overall this season. They maybe did go through a wee bit of a rough patch, but I think it's one of those ones, if strikers go a few games without scoring, they can immediately get a wee bit of criticism. But the fact that you're saying he's only a goal behind the top goal scorer in the league shows you that stats-wise he's still been doing pretty well. And, you know, if he gets even a couple of goals tomorrow, he could end up, you know, going into finishing the first sort of part of the season, ending up top goal scorer in the league. So Kyogo's a brilliant player, and obviously Yakimakis is there as well, but I don't think you can be taking Kyogo out of the team after his sort of goal and non-assist, if you want to call it that, the other night. So yeah.
Okay, we've got to 36.5 minutes. It's that time, boys. It's prediction time. Anybody want to step up to the plate and go first?
I don't mind.
Go on, Sean.
I've obviously put a lot more thought into this than what I probably need to do. So I've looked at counties form and all that, as I'm wont to do, Tony. They've won 2 in a row, by the way. They're on a wee mini run. The 2 teams that they've beat, St Mirren at home and Hibs away, both were in the top 6 when they kicked off against them. So that's lifted County up to 10th, and I suppose they're still in the relegation dogfight, though, considering it's only 3 points above Dundee United and Kilmarnock. But they're feeling confident, I would say, because that followed a streak of just 1 win in 10 games across all competitions, which was actually Livy away, which is quite a good one to actually get if you're going to win one. But with that all in mind, and the fact that Celtic have already played them twice this season, albeit at Dingwall, and beat them 3-1 and 4-1, I think Celtic will sign off this one on a high with both goals and a lesser spotted clean sheet, because they've only had 2 clean sheets in 15 matches since that Derby win, Tony, which is not good enough. And I know people will still come in with a comment, Ange doesn't care about clean sheets, but I'm not Ange. I like a clean sheet. So I think they'll get both. I'm going to go 3-0, Tony.
There you go, Aidan. There's a prediction for you. No fence sitting there from Sean. Not just a win and a convincing win, but a clean sheet as well. What say you to that, young Aidan Macdonald? Go on, bat it straight back over the net.
I'll go one better, similar to the retro Celtic there, and go 4-0 Celtic. So
4-0 Celtic. Oh, there you go. Bonus is on me now. I'll go with Charlie Johnson. 5-0.
I would have put a fiver on you saying that, Tony. As soon as I said 3 and Aidan said 4, I'm like, he's going 5. There's no way he's going 2.
5. Tenerife, 11 Reef. There you go. Take a bit of that. Yeah. I just think they'll be determined the other night, because the manager wasn't happy, and I think the manager will have drummed into them from Wednesday onwards. You heard these words himself. What did he say? I don't do grinding.
I don't like the grind. I doesn't like to grind it out. Wants to be.
He'll say to them, "You're putting on a show tomorrow for me and yourselves and for the supporters." And I think Celtic will end this wee segment with a flourish. But that's not to be discourteous to Ross County, who have 2 excellent wins under their belt, and a manager who claims the odd scalp now and again. You might have to work hard for it, but I just think the quality will shine through at the end of the day.
Tori, I've got a comment here just before we kind of start wrapping up. Robert Gibson, what do we do during the World Cup? It's like the off-season, mid-season. What do they do, Tony? They tune in here because we'll still be on. We'll still be on talking. And you'll obviously be gallivanting halfway across the world for a couple of those briefings as well. So
yeah, I'll leave on Tuesday. Yeah, get somewhere.
Are you on here on Monday, Tony?
I'll be on here on Monday. Complete with Tam Shepherd hat with the cops and all that. You know what I mean? And shouting phrases like "more shrimps than a Barbie" and where's Bounce to the dog and all that kind of stuff, and probably looking more like Joe Mangold than anything else. But there you have it. Couple of neighbours.
Just don't, Tony. Just don't forget your boarding pass, right? Because you've got the extra luggage allowance and all that there for your wee wardrobe.
There we are. Oh, there you go. Take a look at that. Marvellous. Yes, I get there some point Thursday morning. First game's on Thursday night, I believe. Yep. I'm told about jet lag and all that, but we'll deal with that. It's fine. As I say, I'll get a rest when I come home. Is that right, Sean?
So they say, Tony. So they say. But
if you're going to work on the Ange Postecoglou kind of mantras, Aidan, I'll rest when I get home. That's there you have it. But looking forward to extra luggage, lads.
I'll throw that up on Twitter for everybody just to have a wee laugh at, Tony. See who spots it.
Yes, indeed. Large wardrobe 11. Well, I've no idea what I'm doing, to be honest, but I'm going anyway, and we'll see what happens. But guys, thank you for your contribution today. Thursday morning, Tony. Are you walking there? Says Pete Mix. Yeah. I'm leaving in 5 minutes, to be fair. Stay sober, Tony, says Charlie. That's a given with your old dad here. I'm a non-drinker, so it's all good. He's missed your flights, Tony. I've missed something, definitely. That's a certainty. But yeah, if you tune in during the World Cup, we'll be on every day talking Celtic as we do, because like Anne says, we never stop either, and we enjoy it. Let's be honest, it's great fun. We hope you enjoy it as well. We thank you for your contribution. We thank you for your subscription. Excellent. And if you're out in Australia and you're going to the Sydney Cup and you do see me, please say hello. Come up and say hello, and we'll thank you personally for your subscription. And it'd be great to meet you as well. So I'll encourage you to do that. Have a chat, because I am pretty approachable. I don't bite or anything, only on request, So it's but yeah, I'll stand and have a chat with you, because that'd be a good thing to do. It'd be nice to meet a few of you if you're out and about. So yes, looking forward to that. We'll end it with a 3-0 win, says Sean. 4-0 says Aidan. 5-0 says your old dad here. Celtic to finish this segment with a bang against Ross County. 3 points. That's what it's all about. To stay at least 7 points clear at the top of the Scottish Premiership. But before we go, just remind you, subscribe, guys. If you enjoy the podcast, you'll enjoy everything that's written on the website, because we do a lot covering the club that you love. It's £1 for 2 months of full access. All you have to do is hit that button, www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. It's as easy as that. And we'll see you on Monday. We'll reconvene then, and we'll talk about Ross County, probably talk Sydney Super Cup as well. All I was left for me to say is thank you, Sean. Thank you, Aidan. Tremendous. Thanks for contribution today. Thanks, everybody. Take care.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers, guys.